The Secret to Better Life and Financial Independence. A Guide to Personal Development, Volume 1, by Robert N. Thomas. Preface. As we grow, our thoughts somehow grow as well, sometimes 1,000 times faster. Making it challenging, everything seems to change with time. We sometimes seem to question ourselves about everything, if not most, at some point in our lives. The what if and why factor appears to be inevitable to escape. We lose friends, loved ones, hopes, dreams, and sometimes even ourselves if we're not careful. However, as time passes, we seem to find a coping mechanism, only to realise not everything can be replaced. Still, some people seem to find new friends, loved ones, hopes, dreams, and a better version of themselves during the process of time and personal development. I write these words flowing from my thoughts, hoping to be of use to many who will lay their eyes across each chapter, in the hope of grasping some understanding of my viewpoints from a few simple elements in which we all have access to that which could be impactful. This book aims to give an insight into a boy's journey through life, with nothing but hopes of achieving something, and he did. Now he shares some of the thoughts that got him there. The author has learned and discovered some principles that aid him in turning his life around significantly. He wishes to share the thoughts and his journey to self-reliance and persistence, so that you too could find some meaning and value to add to your ideas and maybe one day apply to your life. These few chapters are loaded with philosophy and a way of thinking. So a man thinketh, is he. How do you think? Change the way you think. Stop making excuses. That is who I am does not mean that is who you have to be. That is the way it always been does not mean that it's the way it has to be. I do not have time, but anyone never owns time. Key concepts. Integrity will say a lot about you. Attitude. The way people treat and view you as a person. Truth will always be respected and understood. Checklist will set your path for success step by step. Hard work will separate you from the average. Thoughts will gift the ultimate power to change your life. Action speaks louder than words. Introduction. Self-discovery is a mystery. We are so unique in our design. Self-discovery is one of the most challenging processes throughout a human's life. Unfolding new things about ourselves as time goes by. Just like a fire, it never really knows itself because it never burnt itself. Only who experience it know how it feels. We genuinely know ourselves, but we should get an understanding of how we could operate for the best outcome. You are where you are because of who you are. Therefore, if you want changes in your life, you have to change the way you think. The first came to me when I was a child growing up in a low-income family. I've always thought that we were the unfortunate ones. However, at an early age, I started to realize that many others around us were equally poor, if not worse off than we were. I realized that everyone was living to survive, and that was the mindset of everyone I saw in the community, and as such, they do nothing but endure. Well, I wanted more. At first it seems like a fictional dream, but as I worked hard and developed myself, everything started to come into place, and my confidence rose 1,000%. It started when I was 12 years old and I had failed my exams, and I was not accepted to a well-known school. Nevertheless, I went to a lower school and started to study day and night to retake a placement exam. I lay out my goals, which included the school I wanted and the grades I needed to obtain this goal. Then I studied every day and night, and on the day of results I collected my report. My sister asked me what I think. I responded. I already knew where I was placed. She said how, and I responded that because I can do anything I set my mind to. However, I did it. I achieved the goal and I ranked first in my class in math. At this point, I discovered the importance of goal setting. I started to realize that everyone wanted more, but no one was willing to do more. That is precisely what I did. I became an accountant, mainly because I thought, if I learn enough about money, maybe I will have some. Guess what? I sure did. Knowing how it works gave me enough to ensure that I would not be poor again with the knowledge I have obtained. I'm the youngest of 16 siblings. Yes, you heard me correctly, I have 15 siblings. I went to start my life on my own at the age of 15 after my brother passed away at the age of 20 to gang violence. Then I started my journey to a better life. I've discovered the power of reason. It will change your entire life. People do incredible things because of reason. Ask yourself, what gets you excited enough to get up every day and do what you do? What makes you work hard? Then ask yourself, what made you not work hard? Not doing what you wanted to do or not doing anything at all? I found out my problem was lying between one or two of those. Being from a broken family, I found that watching my family struggling motivated me to work even harder. The real reason was I had nothing to lose. That changed the way I looked at life. At this point, I can only win. You may know the saying, the glass is half empty or it is half full. It depends on how and who is looking at it. Well, to me, the glass was fully empty, and I had to get it full so that everyone could drink. The desire to become more and do more. Here is a story about a little boy named Mike. One day Mike followed his mum to the river that was 2 miles away from the town. He would find some random questions to ask his mother. When they finally arrived at the river, the water was a little heavier than before. However, Grace had to do what she had to do for her income. It depended on it. After the first 30 minutes, Mike started to wander off, throwing rocks in the water. Then suddenly he heard his mother yelling, "Help! Help!" The massive flow of the river had caught her. She was heading down to the point where Mike had wandered off to. So scared and desperate, Mike looked around and he saw no one that could help him. Mike was standing next to a tree that had long branches. He climbed the tree and managed to break off a huge branch. He threw it into the water for his mother to hold on to. His mother quickly held onto the branch and pulled herself onto the riverbank. At this time, the town villagers came out in numbers. They were too late. Grace had already made it safely. One of the men in the crowd asked, "How do you manage to get out? It's a miracle." Grace answered, "My son saved me. He'd broken a large branch for me to hold on to and pull myself out." Everyone stopped for a moment. The crowd pointed at Mike and asked, "Is this your son?" Grace answered, "Yes." The crowd laughed. They did not believe that it was possible. However, an older man, Mr. Smith, said, "Behold, I saw everything from the top of the hill. It was indeed the boy who broke the branch and set his mother free. Moreover, let me tell you how he did it. He did it because he did not have anyone there to tell him he could not. That is how." The do not take anything personally rule. The first step towards becoming a better person, I discovered and followed this rule. This helped me to take control of my emotions and to not rush to make emotional judgments. I had to learn how to decipher things before reacting to them. If you do not believe how powerful these emotions are, then why do you think you feel and act the way you do? You become so guarded and afraid of being emotionally exposed. I figured out that based on your upbringing was the first set or the easiest target of reactive emotions. Growing up in a poor, broken home leaves many people emotionally damaged and vulnerable. This will keep you down and unable to look up and think better of yourself. Nevertheless, not only people from the lower side of life have it rough. No one can escape from their emotions. Emotions are powerful, and if not properly controlled, they could cost you your life. In the process of learning, do not take things personally. I have discovered that sometimes I have to separate myself from what I'm doing. For example, I made a paper plane and someone started to find faults in it. I quickly reacted and became defensive, all spurred up with anger. I then stopped and thought, why did I let such a simple issue get the best of me? Now that person will not correct me ever again. When I stopped to realise that he was correct, because one of the plane wings was longer and bigger than the other one, but being blinded by emotions, I created a scene for my faults. I then started to develop the concept of do not take anything personally, and started applying it to my daily life. I can always see the good and the bad side of any situation, and learning this concept is perfect for improving my behaviour in life. I should not let anything get me upset and bother me anymore, and now I can be happy and focused. Listen to what someone says. Listen to the message without emotions, and you might get the message. Sexual emotions are of such power that these emotions become perceptive in personal development. You leave yourself open if you act on all your emotions. You will be easily controlled. Saying yes to things you probably should have said no to. Saying no to things you should have said yes to. However, because of quick emotional responses, now you're stuck with the answer you gave. This is not an easy task to master, but you will be able to take control of the mood of your life. This concept allowed me to stay positive even in hard times, whenever others have given up on me. I thought that all the things that I wished to accomplish were nothing but a mere dream. No one could portray me right, a poor kid coming from the lower side of life, getting a college education, doing sports on television and travelling overseas. However, I saw it for myself. Even when my father told me that I will not amount to anything in life and I will reach an early grave because I do not listen to anyone and do things as I pleased. Do not get me wrong, for years that have bothered me as a 12-year-old kid, that is rather harsh. Nevertheless, after learning how emotions work, he could not have meant it, but he was so angered that the emotions came out of him and created some damage to our relationship for a while. So be careful of the emotions we express to others. In my case, it might have seemed okay at the time, but it was not. Many relationships were ruined because of emotional reactions that led to misunderstanding and bad communications, being defensive of honest criticism. So I was grateful to have discovered this concept early in my life. As a young boy growing up, I was very reactive, which caused me to be in altercations that could have been easily avoided. Always be in control of your feelings, otherwise someone else will be your master. Mastering this concept will help you to be a better thinker, and you would process things with a better rationale. The power of your thought. Our thoughts become words, our words become action, our action becomes habits. Our habits become character, and our character becomes who we are. Personal development is precisely as it sounds, personal. Only you have the power to change your well-being as a person. You have the ultimate power to choose your path and your destination. For one, it is not like a tree which is planted in the earth and stayed in that one particular place. Humans have the ability and capability to create the future and change millions of lives just by the very decisions we make. Unleash your greatness by using your ultimate power of thinking. Albert Einstein said, "Imagination will take you everywhere. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions." This concept has been proven over 1,000,000 times. Everything that you use today to improve the quality of your life is made of pure imagination. Someone thought of it and made it a reality. You can see that the very movement of our body is responding to the way we think, and the way we think is how we live our life. So a man thinketh, so is he. If we look at fear, which is just an illusion created by no one but the person who fears it, act by taking control of your mind and control things around you for a chance at a better life. It is easier to be said than done, but in the end it is worth it. You have to choose to go through struggles for the rest of your life, or go through effort within a time to be free and to be rewarded a life of your dream. Because all you see around you today was nothing but a desire to an individual or a group that made things possible. Some were considered insane while trying to bring their ideas to life. Still, once it came to life, it was then relabelled as brilliant. That goes to say that one's sense of brilliance is absurd in the idea of thoughts. One of the reasons people do not reach their full potential is only because of other people's opinions. One cannot achieve their goals if they rely on others' assistance, because it's your goal and only you can make it. A person who is desperate to obtain their goals in life will eventually achieve it unless Mother Nature thinks otherwise. For example, a farmer might plant his crops honestly and with continuous hard work, and a storm comes and destroys all his crops. Did he do anything wrong? The answer is no. Precisely, it is the law of nature. It does not mean that the farmer is unlucky, it's just how nature works. Nothing is guaranteed in this life. Yet this will not stop a farmer from planting the crops in the upcoming season. We can create a better future, but we cannot predict the future. So wherever or whatever stage you are in life, it's not too late, and you can win with just the right philosophy and a few disciplines. First, you need to understand that disciplines are easy to break, but hard to follow. It's not an easy task, but do not be discouraged. Sometimes the simplest things can be the most challenging. The same way, to say some simple disciplines can reshape your life. In this book, I will share a few essential concepts that helped me to change my life. Well-defined purpose in life. Before we attempt to improve the quality of our life, we should first understand the actual meaning of life. What is your purpose in life? Stop for a moment and think of your definition, then look up the meaning of purpose inside a dictionary. Perhaps compare your definition with others and ask the person closest to you. Is it the same or different? I believe that everyone's life is different, and only I could give meaning to mine as you should to yours. The enormous power one could possess to be the master of his or her own life. Life is too valuable to ever give it away to someone else. No one could ever tell you how to live your life. Life is made up of so much complexity for its state of living. Everyone's experience of life is different. They think differently and have different emotional impulses. It's wise to seek guidance and follow the basic principles of life, but that is all anyone can genuinely offer. It's ultimately up to you. The Oxford Dictionary gives us this definition. Lives, state of living, the ability to breathe, grow, reproduce, etc., that people, animals and plants have before they die. As stated above, life is the only thing that separates us from death. Life is worth living because if you're not living, you are dead. However, there are so many people today who are just existing, which could be classified as a state of death. Just because you're breathing does not mean you are truly living. Do we know the difference between existing and living? Existing could be perceived as just being alive with no particular goals in life. These kind of people are just waking up with no direction. One might just take orders from someone else. They are incapable of thinking on their own. On the other hand, the one who is actually living has a purpose, aim, and ambition to pursue whatever their heart desires, and will not stop until he or she achieves it. This is because it brings one joy and a reason to keep going no matter how hard or difficult it might get. But if you are not devoted to this purpose, one might quit at the first glimpse of hardship. It might be hard living, but it is fulfilling, and to one it might be worth it. Nothing is satisfying about existing. One preferably has 20 years of pure adventure and experiences, very impactful, than to survive for 50 years doing the same thing repeatedly like everyone else, making no impact or meaning to their life. Ask yourself what your story is going to be when your daughter or son asks you what you did with your life when you were young. What will you say then? What you did or should have done. One might think that only in prison one's life might be taken from him, and he only exists, being told what to do, where to go, and how he can do what he wants to do if he is granted permission to do so. Waking up every day doing the same thing, living with no purpose. These words sound familiar? If you take a look around you, one might see that most people wake up in the morning and go to work they do not like, and do the same things every day on someone else's time, still being told what to do and how to do it. Some might take a break if they are given a break. They have no particular aim and then wonder why life is so unfair to them. It's only one conclusion, that they are not living, using the ability to think for themselves and reaching their aim and happiness. This may also be a result of living life on other people's terms. One common observation is that parents sometimes try to live through their children, and for this they take away the very presence of their children for their own. They are living through their children, but their children just exist. Everyone can think, and as such you earn the right to use it as you deem fit. From a bird's eye view, think of everything that you do or have done and try to figure out why you did it, or even why you are doing it still. Is it because you choose to do it, or is it what someone told you that you should do? Or maybe it's the norm of society. You would be shocked to know the number of people that do not understand why they do what they do. Many students are in school primarily because they were told by their parents, government and society, not because of their wish. However, some people think it's important to them, therefore they find a way to pay their way through. They have a purpose. Ask yourself, did you pick the career you wanted or what someone else wanted for you? Even perhaps the one you settled for, placing not so much faith and value into your own willpower. Only if a man takes control of his own life will he see the unlimited potential he has within him. A tree does not need instruction to grow and bloom, then shed leaves. The tree will fulfill its purpose unless under some unfavourable circumstances. For example, its environment is a significant factor, because if it is planted in a lousy soil where nurturance is few and sunlight is limited, it will not reach its full potential, if it even gets a chance to live. However, men can seek better soil and reach a clear place full of sunlight to bloom more like never before. However, so many people, just like a tree, stay in the same place and work with what they've got and could never see better for themselves. Do not fall victim to the majority. Another example is going into a taxi cab and the driver will ask you, where to? If you cannot give him a destination, he will never move. He might ask you to exit his car until you figure out where you want to go. Take it a step further. The cab driver may take you anywhere. What a gamble you take with your life. The same way you treat yourself. Your life is just as the taxi cab will take you wherever you want to go. But you need to figure out where to. Recommendation 1. Find your purpose and take charge of your life. 2. Get a notebook and make a list of places you would like to visit. 3. Write down things you would wish to do. 4. Write down where you see yourself in 5 years. Keep doing that every few years and you will live a life full of experiences. 5. Remember to live and to help others by living and serving. Principles of philosophy. Poverty can be passed down from one generation to another by way of genetics, because it's a way of thinking, it's an attitude. Therefore a man thinketh, so is he. One might even say that your mindset is the engine of his own life. By this I mean a man lives by his philosophy. Whatever it may be, your philosophy is a direct reflection of your attitude towards everything in life, and ultimately your income. For example, a poor man and a wealthy man might not see eye to eye, not because of their economic difference, but because of such a difference in their philosophy. Have you ever wondered why the wealthy family remains rich and has a generation of wealth? And the same is said for most low-income families where upward mobility is slow. When scrutinized, you will realize that the philosophy being taught to each child is completely different. Besides, poverty is a shackle to any man or woman who experiences it, and will create a mental block for thinking. Once his reasoning and thoughts shape philosophy, if this vessel is blocked, then it will stifle anyone's dream. This can be corrected through personal development, such as reading, thinking, researching, and finding one's most significant weakness and strength. However, self-mastery is not an easy task, even though it is simple. Yet not as one might imagine. It requires hard work, time, and discipline, followed over time. For some to move forward in life, they have to take a few steps back, retracing their roots to see where the sense of failure was first brought about. Because their thoughts or lack of ambition could be a byproduct of one's environment. I once read that the only distinctive science that separates humans from animals is the ability to process one's own thoughts. Granted, the ability to think enables us to change our life and reshape our future. The question is, we are not where we want to be because we have not followed the necessary steps needed to get there. It is not particularly because we do not have any luck, as most people would call it, but in the area of financial freedom. I do not know many that have gotten there primarily by luck. Even then, it takes more work to stay there and maintain such luck. You see, if we do not prepare our minds to be ready for what has to come, we will not be able to handle it. So I urge you to develop a proper philosophy. Principle of money. Philosophy and the concept of money. Money is talked about in so many different ways. Good, bad, and indifferent. Most people see money as unfavourable, but in my life I have discovered that only poor people say that money is negative. I know you've heard the saying, money does not bring happiness. Yet the most crimes, gangs, and people living in misery are from the lower income side of life. Well, we can now see that poverty does not bring so much of a joy to people either. Money grants us the ability to fulfill any need or desires, and that's what brings ultimate happiness. Let's not get confused. Money is only a tool used to exchange one thing for another, and not much more. Nevertheless, as we previously discussed, money is based upon how you think. Money is just the paper value we have in our wallets or at the bank. But it is also a representation of wealth, but it is not wealth. Wealth can also be anything of a commodity such as gold or oil, anything that you would use the money to buy. All of these are just a representation of such things, but it's not actually it. It's time to open your eyes and stop seeing the symbols, but seeing the real thing that you seek. There are many things of value, but those are considered as wealth. Money is not the only representation, and this is where many fall victim of money. Money is also powerless unless you give it power and use it. As such, you need proper money management skills. These concepts of money management might have been passed down through parents or influencers. For example, my parents never went to school beyond age 13 and 18 and never developed excellent money management skills, and everything my family earned was spent. They did not seek money management advice that would have helped them to create a better wealth plan, along with setting a better money philosophy for us coming up as children. They have worked for their entire lives and still could not afford a house or things they desire. Money walked out of our lives faster than it came in. I have a large family, being the 16th child, yet I never had to pay, not even a cent, for school. I was granted a full-track scholarship, which was valuable. In this sense, it was my method of payment because my involvement was helpful to the university. This leaves me with more scope to work, save and invest while being a student. Being an accounting major student, it gave me insight on how money works and how it could be used effectively. With these few concepts, I was able to build a home for my parents whilst in a 4-year college. This was achieved by understanding how money works and why my family never seemed to have it, no matter how they have slaved for each coin. They may seem to want to have other things as well, which might be bad money habits. Think about this concept. Put aside the main goal you wish to achieve, then you save and work towards it. Sounds easy, right? However, it will require good discipline to follow these simple steps because of everything life throws at you. The house I built for my parents did not just come about overnight. I was 10 years old when I told my father about a piece of land he inherited from his aunt. I asked my father, "How much is it for blocks to build a house?" He replied, "Why?" I told him that I want to make a house, and he said, "You cannot afford it." I said, "Well, if I start now, in a few years, it will be done." He laughed, but it remained in my mind. As a freshman in college, I started the process, and by the end of my 4th year, I was 80% complete. So what is the main point here? It took me 4 years to change the state of my family life and give hope to other people in my age group in the community. Additionally, I gained a net worth of over 150k after college, most starting life with a negative 100k in student loans. What a way to reinvent the wheel! This is how important having a dream is. However, most importantly, staying focused and keep working towards making it a reality is essential. It can change your life. I never quit. I understood when someone said that they do have financial difficulties, but do not know how to overcome it. Some may think that getting a second job might do the trick, only to find themselves in a similar situation. How about seeking help in areas in which you do not understand or have expertise? In today's world, with vast technology, you can learn anything with a click of a button, yet that seems too hard and complicated. However, if you select a person in your community or in your environment, which is a person of wealth, I'm quite sure they could give you some insight into how they handle their finances. You might be surprised how many are willing to share knowledge, and surely they never yet miss an opportunity to brag about their success. Personal finance can be defined as applying the principles associated with finance to a family or an individual. These principles are applied to the monetary decisions that are going to be made. Personal finance is used to look at the way a family or an individual will earn an income, budget it and save. This is generally done over a specific time. Some basic principles are used in personal finance. The principles used will have a direct impact on the level of management of personal finance. Financial planning is a crucial aspect of personal finance. Set goals after the assessment. Setting goals will act as your guideline for a better financial situation. This should be done whether you are financially stable or you are suffering from high expenditures. You can have short-term goals and long-term goals. The goals should be realistic to avoid being over-optimistic. When you set your financial goals, you will have a direction towards financial planning. These goals will also remind you how to use your income in a better way. Once you have set goals, you need to create a plan and execute it. The final step will require the creation of an excellent plan to get to your goals and execution of the same. The financial plan should be simple, and it should not be too optimistic. Make plans according to what can be achieved surely, instead of what you want to achieve. You can make plans to invest in other areas like the stock market, or increase your remuneration at work. The plan has to be executed once it has been made. Execution is the hardest part, as it will require a lot of sacrifice and commitment. If all these aspects are applied, one is sure to have proper personal finance management. Money philosophy. For every dollar you earn, think of the concept I learned on how to treat it. Income, $1. All expenses, 60 cents. Investment, 20 cents. Savings, 0.15 of a cent. Charity community project, 0.5 of a cent. If you can use this formula, it is unlikely for you to get broke again because this discipline ensures that you will have money saved away, along with investments growing over time. Some people may choose even to increase the percentage according to their situation. But if you follow proper money discipline, you can avoid one of the leading causes of failure. The earlier you have a good money habit, the more you will have. Some people spend their money and then they invest. However, the rich invest their money and then they spend. If you follow this concept, it does not matter how much you have. It's not about the amount. It's about the habit. A borrower is a hireling to a bank. Endeavour to be a pioneer, not a borrower. Take charge of your financial life. Get a tight grip on every dollar you spend. Do not allow small leaks to sink your ship. A small amount adds up. Financial statement to figure out your net worth. Balance sheet. Example below. Assets. House 300,000. Car 7,000. Savings account 5,000. Liabilities. Mortgage minus 280,000. Car loan minus 10,000. Student loans minus 30,000. Total net worth minus 8,000. Your net worth is everything you own of significance or of value, which is called your assets minus what you owe in debts, your liabilities. Assets include cash and investments, your home and other real estate, cars or anything else of value you own. This is a great tool to see what your financial position is. This is the best tool I use as an accountant to figure out where I am standing in my life. By making a personal financial statement, I realized I was working every day just to pay bills, while I was thinking that I'm really making a difference. Still, the day I decided to make a personal financial statement, it was a life changer, a reality check. I was looking around to find things to add to it, to feel a little better, but nothing. There were no assets. Now I know what I need to work on and what I need to do with the money I earn. Earning money is not the hard part. The hard part is keeping a significant portion of the money that is earned. This is a great place to start when trying to figure out your finances. This will help you to know what you are working towards and the debt you are in. Keep doing this every few months to check your progress. Tree philosophy. A tree starts as a seed, a tough outer layer and a much softer inner layer, just like most people. The hard outer layer is for protection from birds, ants and other factors. The inner layer is where all the vital parts are, the actual seed itself. Now, for the seed to grow and flourish, it will need a few factors and conditions, which include soil, and not just any soil, but a good soil that will supply nurturants for growth. Water, and not just any water, but clean water, free of chemicals and other particles. Sunlight, so it can grow, along with space. Space is needed to reach its full length, and finally the right season. You cannot plant in the wrong season and expect growth. It only grows in a particular season. If in a place that is stopping it from growing straight, it will bend and grow in the other direction. And once it is bent, there is no way to remove the bend. You see, every seed has the potential to be a full tree, but some seeds are just born in the wrong environment. You will not see a rainforest tree starving in a desert area. It will not stand a chance, just like most people. Unless they move to a better environment conducive to their growth, they will not reach their full potential. In the process of the seed growing, it will face many challenges. It will face bugs and insects trying to make a meal of it, but other protectors come along the way to fight their battles because you see the seed is vital. They start the food chain, so just by their very existence they are treasured. Just think of how many lives are depending on these seeds to survive. It might not seem that way because they might not directly depend on the tree, but they depend or want to eat the plant. Over time, as the tree grows, it will require more sources of nurturance, sunlight and space. It will soon start shedding its leaves for some time and will only leave with the limbs and stem. Leaves, which are plenty and take up most of the space, yet they will come and go just as how people will come in and out of your life. Leaves are a part of your growth process. They will fall on the ground and become mulch, used as fertilizer, which is good for growth. The same way people you interact with might not have a long-lasting relationship, but they are an excellent value for growth through the interaction. Put more attention and energy to the limbs and stem, which are of more importance for support. However, neither limbs are permanent. Over time, some limbs will become outgrown and finally dry up and fall off, never to return, just like the leaves did. But do not worry, there will be new ones too. However, the stem is vital. It will keep growing until the tree reaches its full growth and die. It's the only thing that will not return if lost, because the rest of the tree depends on it. You have to evaluate where everyone is placed in your life and the role they play. That will help to determine your relationship and energy you put into each. It might be hard to let go of all those, but it is necessary. More will come. Be sure not to leave them for limbs or stems, because that will come at a high cost. Do not treat limbs as if they are stems. You will be giving too much power to those who do not deserve it. Furthermore, do not mistreat your stem, because you have only one, and without it, you will have significant issues. You should always be protective of it. It should be protected and nurtured at all costs. That is where most of your time and energy should be placed, and not on some leaves which are temporary by the thousand. If a tree has requirements, so should you. Remember, leaves are many, limbs are few, and the stem is you. Who are you around? Environment. One can easily be caught up and influenced by his surroundings, despite his ability to think or in what manner he developed his philosophy. We need to pay close attention to whom we are around and whom we take our influence. You would be surprised to find out how much of your environment is a part of you. Look at your circle which is around you. Take time out to see how they are affecting your life, either positive or negative, because the more time you spend with these people, the more they influence your thoughts. Not saying cut anyone off, but limit the quality of time in which one gives to these influences. You live and you learn. Well, that depends on what you are learning and from whom you are learning. From the time you are a baby learning how to walk, it was based on what you saw and learned from your environment. The mental data we collect from our surroundings has a significant impact on the way we operate. We are continually placing information into our subconscious mind. Be aware of what you are feeding your account, because that is precisely what you will become, or a fraction of your personality. We cannot move forward unless we know where we are coming from. No band-aid is thick enough to cover your past, because if it is something you think about and it carries emotional damage, then reliving those moments that can be hard. However, it also affects your future. Because of that thought, your entire day is off to a bad start. You will also find why you developed the sense of what made you believe that things were not possible for you, and what made you think less of yourself, or perhaps living in fear because of past trauma. Never get too attached to your environment. Sometimes the best way to find a better life is to seek it elsewhere. Going through life, you will discover that not all men like to see others above them. This could be that one is not able to see life getting any better for one, and your accomplishments remind him how shallow one's life is. It's best to move from such an environment, for jealousy and envy is as potent as poison. Seek a situation that one can have a clear head and gain support from fellow men. People may believe that their achievement or outlook on life is based on where they are located. You see, you buy 2 new packs of matches from the closest local store. When you arrive home, you keep one in your pocket and leave the other outside in the rain, cold and mud. In the morning, you get both packs of matches, and you will discover that the inside match will light, but the one that was left outside all night will not. Yet if you should use the fire from the inside match, it shall light the other. You see, some people were just born in the wrong environment, and it might take everything to overcome the odds, but it's worth it. Do not be fooled, and some will remain in the same situation and wonder why they never achieve anything. Nevertheless, one would never step outside of one's comfort zone. Some might argue that it is their birthplace, and it is where they belong. They know nowhere else. They cannot leave all their memories and things of the past. Some are in fear of being called disloyal for leaving their community to achieve a better life. However, everyone has greatness inside him or her. It's just a matter of who can discover it within. Just like the two matches, they both stand an equal chance. If the match outside could find its way inside into a better environment to reach its full potential, it would see the wonders it is capable of. That small fire from a match is enough to burn down an entire rainforest. The same thing could be said about who you are around. If you look closely, you see that the outside match was able to still light after using the fire from the inside match. The same if you surround yourself with the right people. They can help to bring the best out of you and ignite the fire from within you. Recommendation. If there is no one there to tell you, let me be the first one. You can do it. If you were not paying attention to anyone else, you would be surprised how relaxed you would be, going at your own pace. If you took the time to know yourself, you would see how you could grow yourself. Some people say they want someone to get to know them, but they never take the time to know themselves truly. Other than your name, who are you? What are your inner thoughts? How we think about ourselves makes a big difference. Strive to be the first to believe in yourself and the last person to give up on yourself. It's your dream, it's your goal, and the truth is no one has to help you. No one has to see it, no one is obligated to you, and they have their own goals, dreams, and ideas. It would be selfish to stop someone from his or her dreams to tap into yours. To understand this, you need to make your dream a reality, because there are so many dreams that will be fulfilled because of your goal. Take Jeff Bezos for an example. A reporter once asked Mr. Bezos if he feels terrible for being the richest man in the world, and he replied, "No, I'm worth 111 billion, and Amazon is worth 1 trillion. That means I made other people rich." Life comes in pairs, both positive and negative. There is light and there is darkness, there is up and there is down. Positive cannot exist without negative. If there were no wrong, then there would be no right. There is no right or wrong, you can find both in any given situation. Better yet, a battery or light bulb does not work without a positive and a negative. They are dependent on each other. So do not be worried about the negative as much. It is necessary for your success as long as you stay positive and stay focused, and you will reach the mark you want to accomplish. There is an analogy I came across once before about cells in the human body that I would like to share. There is so much happening in the human body. It is similar to that of the universe. However, I do not know much about biology, but I want to get your attention to the white blood cell and the red blood cells. One feeds on the positive and one feeds on the negative. There has to be a balance between the amounts of each in the body, otherwise there will be some problems. Too much red blood cells can cause blood clots, slowing its flow, and that can cause serious heart problems. Similarly, too much white blood cells cause inflammation, trauma, allergy, and certain diseases. Now we see that we need both to function, but we also need to keep both under control. We would say the red blood cell is focused on the positive aspect of the body, like oxygen, and it regulates the temperature, etc., while the white cells feed and destroy the negatives, such as infections, etc. I made this analogy to bring across to you that we should focus the positive, but understand that there is so much negative out there. You have to learn to protect yourself and fend off the entire negative, because if you do not, it will cost you. Most, if not all, feelings and emotions move through the spectrum. It's a mixture of two things. In the senses it is and it is not, you would say the money is in my bank account, same as you would say the money is not in my bank account. One would not exist without the other. So in life, don't be afraid. There would be a good result in every bad situation. This world is a mystery. No matter how much anyone tries to do well and stay positive in life, negative energy seems to find its way around. Why is this so? That still remains a mystery. However, I have accepted that life comes in pairs, and I can never outrun negative energy. Therefore, I must learn how to control them and perhaps turn them into positive in some way. I also search for answers, and I realize a few things which are when something wrong happens to you, something good happens to someone else. I then start to think, is it terrible or is it just bad to me because one man has to lose for another to win during my time doing sports? I also started to think, the rainfall and the sunshine. One man wishes for the rain, while one wishes for the sun. I then begin to believe that God has many decisions to make. Still, for us as humans, we have to understand that we cannot please everyone. People will talk about you, but never let them get you down. Stand tall and embrace it, for you're only one person as long as you did your best. You know that within your heart, be at rest and move on. Someone will always have something to say. The man who wishes for it to rain is a farmer, and he needs the rain to grow the crops he planted for weeks and in need of water, while the other man is also a farmer in need of the sunshine, so that he can have the day he set aside to plant his seeds to get ready for the season. Now ask yourself, who would you suggest to have his wishes? See, decisions are hard and you cannot please everyone at times. Life is just part negative. If one man does not get his request, he starts to complain and starts to have an inner conversation on how it is such a bad day and how unlucky it is. But in fact, that is how nature works. Try the next day again. Do not get discouraged and work up. It's just not your day. There will be better days. Negative is not permanent. Well, unless you let it. Sometimes things get worse before it gets better. It's just a matter of how much can one person endure. In the field of exercise, pain is just a byproduct of building muscles. Too much pain, however, could cause a problem. Do not be naive and try to take on too much on oneself. Remove that problem out of your way. This could be your relationships, jobs, relatives, or friends. Excessiveness of anything is unhealthy. Understanding this concept could open doors to better coping with difficult times. Embrace difficulties because they are part of life. No difficulties will last forever. Take them as they come. The way we look at life makes the difference. In times of disasters such as now, they are dealing with a world epidemic, everyone under quarantine. I only see two options, either positive or negative. For many people in the world, this is the worst time, and they do not know how they will ever recover from such a situation. While some are saying this is the best time and the perfect opportunity to get ahead. Why? Not so much of the situation, because they are both in the same position. How they will come out is totally up to how they think. One man sees no jobs and no socialization. All he sees is distress. While the next person sees an excellent opportunity to join the stock market, or get a loan, or even buying a house in a market drop. Even in a disaster, one can set the tone for the upcoming year. So when this disaster is over, he can look to a better future. Some see the time and need to acquire a skill and follow their passion for in time of crisis. They can lose their job anyway. While others, 401k and other retirement funds and investments are taking a hit, some other people are achieving again in the market. Which side of the bridge do you want to be on? It's entirely up to you. Recommendations. Always think positively and look for opportunities, not distress. Accept the fact that it's just not your time yet. Life comes in pairs, but you experience one at a time. Do what you love, because nothing is guaranteed. Small thoughts make a big difference. Let go and move on. Do not be in disbelief. Character and discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. Self-improvement. What is your brand? When you see 3 stripes, you think of Adidas, and when you see a check mark, you think of Nike. So when you look at yourself, what do you think of yourself? When others see you, what will they think of you? The better question is, what do you give them to think? You would be surprised to see how much of what happens to us have to do with us. We cause most of our problems through the choices we make. If we look closely at the power of branding, we see that we are not paying so much for the quality of the piece of clothing or item. We're paying for the name. The product name is what is most important, like the product, but the brand of the product has a significant impact on the product. So you are the product, and what value does your brand bring to you as a person? Why should people respect you? Are they even listening to you? What impact you are making in the community? There is no return for a person of dishonesty and jealousy, because they will have the label of poison. This is dangerous to anyone who encounters it. Be a person of positive attitude. If you want more, you have to be more. Place more effort and time into improving yourself. Develop the reputation of a good brand that even your children may carry on their shoulders. If not, then they will inevitably be stained by lousy branding. We are the writers of our own story. Let us create the perfect brand for our character. There is always someone watching. Strive to do your best work. You will never know who is watching you at that particular moment. Your job is a part of you. It says a lot about someone's character. If a man can adopt this principle, one can never tell if one had done work for pay or free, mainly because one always tries to do his best work. This will develop quite a reputation. If you look around, you notice some people's fake work. They only appear to be doing things and portraying an image, but in fact they are not moving forward in life. Instead of spending time to produce proper work, they rather do a cover-up. This will not be for long. Remember, everything you do has an outcome, and this is the difference between just working and mastering your craft. People appreciate good quality work. Hence, it is wise to find an occupation one is passionate about. You never know when your next opportunity will present itself. Be admired for your effort and time you invest in whatever you do. It might not be the job you want, but it is the job you have. For one, you do not want to develop a bad reputation at work, because when you leave that job, you want to go with a good reputation, which could be an asset if in need of a recommendation. Develop a type of attitude that no matter the place and time, you are always doing your best work. Your work speaks for itself. Think of the work you've been doing. Are you doing your best work? Recommendations. 1. What are you known for at work? 2. Accept where you are at first and try to see where you can improve. 3. Evaluate yourself and be open to criticism. 4. Write down the person that you would want to be and be known for, and place in the mirror and look at it every day. What do you bring to the table? What is your value? I'm sure you would not hire someone for your company that promised to do nothing or adds no value. On the other hand, celebrities and other social influences are paid thousands of dollars just for wearing a certain brand, because of the value in terms of popularity they could bring to the company. You're not paid for the time. However, you are paid for the value you bring to the workplace. The more valuable you become, the more you will be paid. For example, there is a vast difference in the treatment of the employee with 10 clients and the one with 5. Work every day to be on top of your game and be the best at whatever you do, regardless if you like the job or not, because excellence is a part of your character and it is a part of your story. Always be honest and have integrity in everything you do, but dishonesty will destroy your value and reputation. As you can see, it's not fit to be the best at any cost, because some might cost you too much. Just develop a good work ethic and place all your effort into goals once set to achieve. Being prepared for success. If everything you ever wanted were to be presented in front of you today, would you be prepared for it? Some might not truly be afraid of failure. They might be afraid of their success. This fear locks the ability to see oneself in higher places. It is dangerous to ever place one where one can never see him or herself. Some people cannot understand that the more you rise, the more is required of you. You have to work at yourself and your craft every day. To be clear, waiting for the opportunity without proper preparation, you will not get anything out of it. However, if you spend the time waiting to get everything you can ready, then when the opportunity presents itself, you have no reason to hold back. So do not sit around waiting for an opportunity. Prepare for it, as if you know it is coming tomorrow. People want to be successful, but they do not want to lose the negative friends and habits. Success comes with challenges at all levels. One must understand that they will look around only to see no one but himself or herself, because it is your goal and no one else's. For example, think about the life of track athletes. They train all year round just for 1 or 2 big meets. That means spending 8 to 10 months in an entire year training day after day, overcoming injuries, aches and pains, just to run at the championship, and they might not even win. However, they train the next year again, because that is their aim, purpose and desire. They cannot do without it because of their mindset on that particular objective. They have to be willing to go through hard work and the duration of consistent pain. They have to outrun everyone else, even if that means doing more beyond what they did each year, each month and each day. Train 5 to 6 days and take rest for only 1 day. It is essential to take only 1 day of rest, but it is also vital to work the majority of the week so that you will not throw away the focus. Leave no room for unwanted things to come in your life. We all desire success, but we do little preparation for it. Success will place you in places that are foreign to you. Some will require you to overcome challenges that you tried to avoid most times in your life. Examine public speaking or being in the spotlight, being criticized by others, being targeted to be used or hated on by other people. Personal development is a core in all occupations. Be joyful. Decide to be happy. The decision we make today will have an outcome in your future. The effect could happen in minutes, hours, days, or years, but your life will turn out based on the decisions you make in your life. Be careful of the choices you choose, because those choices will determine your future. Do not desire to make everyone happy unless it also makes you happy. Think about it. Why should someone else's happiness cause you unhappiness? That does not seem ideal to me. Strive to do things that make you happy. Deciding to choose happiness means not letting anyone or life circumstances such as your relationships, job, family and friends to alter your choice. We tend to treat people depending on how we feel and our mood, which affects our actions. Therefore, if you are always at peace and happiness, that is how you will treat everyone around you. Do not do such things that bring temporary happiness. Do something that will keep a smile on your face when you wake up each morning. Many people choose to make money over joy, only to find out that money will pay the bills, but it cannot bring happiness to your life. Only you can do that. My family did that, and they failed genuinely. I'm from a home where I love you is not common, and spending time and saying nice things to each other was not a norm. This lack of love is also a form of poverty that did affect us as kids tremendously. I could not realize it at the time, but as you grow older and see the world and you understand that no matter how much I've accomplished, it still does not bring happiness. Until I spend time with my family and try to reconnect and change the way we operate and treat each other and communicate, I realized that giving money still did not solve the real problem because there was no joy and love. For example, you can do everything for someone and they could still treat you without the love, joy and happiness you desire. That's because what we want is something that cannot be bought. It's something that is developed over time. Show true love and happiness and you will eventually receive it in return, but not always from who you wish it from. To be successful is great, but to be happy and successful is fantastic. Enjoy the moments on the way to success, the people you encounter, the places you see, the laughter, and even the challenging times. These experiences are what's going to make it worth it in the end. Two major successors, Robin Williams and Steve Jobs, both taught me a lifelong lesson. Robin Williams, despite being so great at everything from movies to comedy and widely loved, and wealth, he hung himself. How so? No one knows the exact reason, but it may be because he suffered from alcohol abuse. So what is success? Is it what you have and what you make of what you have? This taught me that in everything that I do, I want to be happy. Steve Jobs stated on his deathbed, "In others' eyes, my life is an epitome of success. However, aside from work, I have little joy. In the end, wealth is only a tract of life that I am accustomed to." At the moment going on this sickbed and my whole life, I realize that all recognition and wealth that I took so much pride in have paled and become meaningless in the face of impending death. Later he died from pancreatic cancer. You see, we sometimes push everything and everyone aside for the moment and only realize they're not always going to be there when we return. Enjoy the moment and what you have until you obtain more, because humans were designed to want more no matter what it is. The desire for more may be natural, but just as natural is the daily struggles of life. Things such as economics, relationships, family life, job loss, death and disappointment will happen to everyone. However, even in these things, I hope you find peace and one day realize that some of the most important things to us come to us free. The air we breathe, the love we receive, and the very thoughts that we explore are all free. In the same way, to give love, say kind words, and to encourage and keep each other head up above the water will cost nothing but effort. Be happy with the people you work with, or try as best as possible to make everyone happy who works with you. It will create a much better work environment for everyone. This will not only increase productivity, but you will find more meaning in going to work. People will look and treat you differently in many ways. They may never tell articulate thankfulness, but just being at the right place at the right moment could save their life by simply spreading joy. There is always a bigger picture. Do not always have to have the last word. Having the last word means you have closed the conversation on your terms, even when you are wrong, or responding to everything that is said to you by someone else. This will lead to people either limit their interaction with you or not wanting to have any conversation with you. They rather start avoiding you. This is not good at any point in your journey to personal growth. It is seen more of endurance. It is a harmful treat. This should be corrected. If you think you know everything, that simply means you do not. If you believe you are clear and understanding, you might not be. Everything does not always need a response. You might put yourself in a bad position by answering too fast, or even answering at all. These types of people are an easy target to pick at when someone wants to make a fool out of an individual. There is a hidden power in silence. Silence gives you an advantage that lets people wonder and assume what you are thinking. A person who listens to more and talks less might learn more because he does not listen to respond, he listens to understand. If you allow someone to control your reaction to everything, you give them the power to control your reaction. How important is it to have the last word? To me, it is never important. Sometimes we do not see how much energy we waste in useless arguments, disagreements, relationships, and negative thoughts. If you allow someone's words to make a significant effect on your mood and your reaction, you will be controlled all your life. Don't be defensive when being criticized. Instead, listen carefully and see if you could get anything positive out of their criticism. But if they're just negative, use it as a motivation to do more. We are the ones who determine how our day will start and how it will end. Do not let anyone get to you mentally, because that leads to self-destruct. You need to be able to hold your composure. Be able to work with anyone is the best treat to have, especially when trying to gain financial freedom. One must be humble, willing to learn from others and their own mistakes, along with critique from others. Colour of the skin. Make a note that colour difference is present, but it should never be a barrier to one's aim to get ahead in life. We must change our thoughts, because thoughts are the weapon that is used to kill our dreams. I'm sure in every race there is someone who is a millionaire, doctor, or lawyer. You name it. Do not play into such games, and nothing can stop you from reaching your real aim. Indeed, depending on the current location and the colour of your skin will make a big difference in the amount of work and struggle that you will face. But it cannot stop the drive and the philosophy in which you have to reach your goals. The eyes do not know the difference between a diamond and a shiny glass. Do not be quick to believe what you see. Some things are to be internalized. Do not be limited. Open your heart and eyes to all humans and serve. You will be rewarded. Always try to help more. Anyone who became wealthy found a way to serve more people, regardless of their competition or indifference. For wealth, do not see colour or race. It can be obtained by anyone who sincerely desires it and works for it. In most cases, most outward things cannot stop you from reaching anything you set your mind on, unless they somehow found a way inside your heart and mind to break your spirit ultimately. If that happens, a person has a significant problem on their hands, because now the battle is internal with yourself and not the outside world. You can always change the location and change people you choose to interact with, but you cannot outrun the person in the mirror. Therefore it is most important not to give in to anyone's opinion of you. Live to make an impact. The decision you make will change the outcome of your life. You see the future is being written by you, everything that you do. It has an impact, either negative or positive. What will be your impact? Connect with the right people, evaluate who is in your inner circle. Check to see who the negative people in your life are, because you already have one dealing with and trying to get rid of. The one inside yourself is a negative thought that comes out when you're trying to do something. However, ensure that the people you are around are holding you accountable for what you are trying to achieve. You would be so surprised to find out how much of the people you are around is a part of you. You have to understand that some people are pessimists. A pessimist is a person who tends to see the worst aspect of things, or believe that the worst will happen. A pessimistic person is a downer. To be pessimistic means you believe evil outweighs the good, and the bad things are more likely to happen. Get rid of all the pessimistic people in your life. Connect with those people who will support you and cheer you when you are making an effort to obtain a better life. We sometimes know that some of our friends and family members are pessimists, but we are still around them and give them the ability to take up your time. To improve the quality of your life, seek people who are in the direction you are trying to go. Things that you are facing, or someone might have faced them earlier and could help you if you seek help to open your network. If you desire to gain wealth, then why would you not seek to connect with wealthy people? I am sure the poor or unemployed cannot teach you how to acquire wealth. After looking at yourself in the mirror and discovering the person reflected in the mirror, consider your likes and dislikes. This is vital to allow you to identify any potential issues that may help you know the root cause of your likes and dislikes. Ensure that you are not the pessimist person in the network. If you are, then you have to correct it. Design your future. Many wonder how they could design their future and what the purpose is. The fact of the matter is that the same way your school creates a curriculum for you every semester and have a layout of all the things you must do to achieve a degree, similarly, it is essential to design your future month by month, year by year, to achieve the kind of life you wish to. Write down specific goals you want to achieve and the person who you wish to become. Write down every single detail, including the characteristics you wish to embody. Reflect on this vision and try to imitate that person. Day by day, you will grow into the person you wish to become. This will help to shape your future specifically how you want it to be. This will not happen all at once, but this will only occur over time. However, never lose sight of the main objective and who you truly want to become. Look in the mirror every day and repeat the character that you have written down. Say it with conviction and believe it will come through over time. This concept is similar to that of a tailor-made suit, which was designed to fit perfectly for whom it was made. Do the same thing for your life. Design it in such a way it brings you happiness. One thing all successful people have in common is that they know how to build the life they desire. They know how to develop their future. They have strict rules and habits which they follow strictly. Self-discipline is the most precious gift you could give to yourself. Without it, you're nothing. Start by creating a daily routine or schedule. Try your best to follow this routine. If it helps, write down everything that did not work in the past for you and the reasons why you failed. Once you identify your failures, you will have a clearer picture to set goals to eliminate the failures in your life. Visualize your future. Where do you see yourself in the future? Imagine yourself already there, and imagine how it makes you feel. Practice positive affirmations or sessions of meditation to keep you focused on this image so that you can set goals to get there. Setting goals. Goals are powerful tools that one can use to propel in life both socially and economically. They can lead to progression both in your profession and in your day-to-day life in general. When you are comfortable in creating your own goals and you tirelessly work to attain them, it does not only boost your confidence, but also helps you live a happy, fulfilling, and more meaningful life. The first step towards setting attainable goals is to determine the type of goals that you are setting. Set goals that will not risk losing yourself or your soul to obtain. Do not aim for goals at the cost of offending someone else. Go for goals that will build character and lead to fulfillment. The earlier you learn how to set goals, the less time you will spend spinning around trying to find a direction to take your life. This is a significant contribution to early failure in life. Setting goals is a substantial part of a person's drive to anything in life. In most cases, goals are used as a measurement of success. Goals could be anything a person wishes to achieve at any particular time. No goal is too simple nor hard for anyone. It only depends on the attitude of the person. If you cannot set goals, you cannot achieve them. This is the most critical step and happens to be the hardest one. Do you have a clear image of what you want? If not, you need to start by imagining it. Once you have that clear picture in your mind, you will see that it will be easier for you to organize your schedule and your life towards making it real. Many believe that talking about your goals with others is a good idea because it increases your likelihood of achieving them. However, it is not true, especially if procrastination is the biggest challenge in your way. Each time you fail, you will feel embarrassed and lose a bit more of your self-esteem. That is why you should keep them private. Moreover, because proving yourself to others means nothing. There is only you, and you should do everything for yourself, not to please others, nor to get their attention. Create small steps for your goals and make a plan to reach each milestone. This becomes more important if your goal is a big one. Taking one big step is much harder than taking a few small steps and celebrating each of them along the way. With each milestone reached, your self-esteem increases. Remember to be realistic. Do not set unrealistic goals that will carry you to failure. It's also important to set a deadline for each step so that you can stay active, and most importantly, motivated. Keep a journal. A journal is different from a diary in all aspects. It enables you to focus on yourself. People usually have multiple things or thoughts going on at once, and if not careful, they will miss them all. In your journal, write down things that stand out to you, something you might have seen or heard or perhaps learned. Don't try to commit everything to memory. When you get an idea, you write it down so you can remember it. Write down all your plans and goals that you wish to obtain. Leave trails for your generation to come. It's important to take notes, especially about conversations and important dates such as birthdays, anniversaries, and keeping tabs on how your relationship is going with your spouse, boss, employee, and your mentor. Make others know that they are important and you are listening to them. You will be sharp, specific in detail. In the end, you can pass down this journal to your children to read and gain knowledge. We are continually learning and developing, and as such we should keep a record of new things we discover about ourselves. You learn how to walk or ride a bike over time, and you might fail at first, but once you've got it, it commits to memory. You can never forget. The same way you should document things in your life and go back to them and see you wrote this 3 years ago or 30 years ago. Look how you achieved it, how much you have grown, and what you thought was important to you at the time, and to see what you really should have been paying attention to. One of our jobs is to educate the young generation, and what best way to educate than to use your personal experiences? It might be too late for you, but it would mean a great deal to the younger generation to avoid the common mistakes most people make in their youth of not learning proper goal setting. Importance of an exit plan. An exit plan is of much importance, perhaps the same as having just a plan or goal. Why is this necessary to put in place? An exit plan is a comprehensive roadmap that addresses personal, financial, legal, tax and value creation issues involved in a person's life or business. Having a plan is often useful, but you seem to leave out how to exit if necessary. We all know most things do not go as planned, yet we often are so invested in doing a particular thing at a particular time in a specific way, being blinded to when it is time to move on due to wrong timing or unfortunate circumstances that prevent our plans from being feasible anymore. Do not hold on forever. Even if your plan does work, then what? What is the end game? What is your retirement period? These are all things to be considered, and I believe that people wait last minute to decide on when they want to let go of things and move on, such as jobs, relationships, environment, and losses. I believe it is imperative to have one or more exit plans in place, especially for people who just started working in corporate America. While it is great to have a job, it is best to have 2 exiting plans in place if things begin to fall apart. You therefore begin to proceed with your exit plans. For example, while having a job in corporate is ideal for securing a stable income, but I would advise getting a trade or business of your own as well. Why? For many reasons. You can then use your profession to support all your needs, and then your trade can support all your desires. If your job is shut down due to unfortunate circumstances or you're fired, what would you have to rely on? Nothing. But if you had an exit plan, which would be a trade or a business that was set up and running while you were working, it would enable you to secure a source of income for you and your family. In most cases, many other people who seek wealth, financial independence, and I, work a full salary and still create a side hustle, only to use that income to invest in stocks, bonds, and real estate, etc., without affecting their cost of living. This will eventually, if done correctly, result in multiple streams of income. This is an easy way to secretly getting ahead by becoming wealthy in numerous ways, using money to make more money, e.g. stocks and real estate. Too many young adults coming out of college with sufficient education, but for some reason they cannot get a stable job in their particular field, which requires them to have at least 3 years' experience, which I believe to be very unfair for fresh college graduates. They were spending all their time, money and effort just to stumble on another roadblock. This is even more reason to create an exit plan for college into your job field. With limited jobs, available persons seem to take what is available now. This might be at a gas station or restaurant, but they went in thinking they just want to earn an income until they find something in their field. But with no proper exit plan, a few months turns into a year and a year turns into a couple of years at the same job. They never set an exit date and plan upon when they plan to move on from that particular job and move up. In terms of running a business, you need to have exit plans in place if you're not in the right market or business is not as you hope it is to be. You have to look at the profitability and determine if it is worth keeping making a loss or it's time to part ways. Do not wait until you have invested too much, only in finding out you could have prevented such losses by having an exit plan. Comfort. After every night there is a bright day. Comfort does not foster growth, but growth can foster comfort. If you look at the most successful people in the world, they come from some kind of struggle, which gives them such drive to excel. However, in all aspects of life, I steadily realize that coming from Jamaica, I have a different view of life in America. I do not see the need to be comfortable because I realize that it will never foster growth, and I wanted much more for not only me, but for my entire family. Comfort comes in several different forms. Even the fact that you choose people and word that makes you feel better about yourself or situation. People that just sit in their situation because of a few benefits and avoid responsibility, the effort and time it will take to eradicate their situation permanently. They rather accept what they are getting and never raise the bar. Some people are spoiling their kids, but in reality they are stifling or stealing their independence and self-reliance, taking the easy way out of any situation. I truly think that most people do not live up to their full potential because they become comfortable in situations they should not be, and they become hopeless in bad relationships, bad communities, and bad friendship groups. They would never let go and move on. However, the ones who do not seem to be at ease, continually finding ways to better their situations, often they do because they cannot stop due to the uncomfortableness. Believe it or not, it's nice to be comfortable. But the best type of comfort is when you know it is earned. To me, comfort robs you of self-reliance, self-worth, experience, and willpower. If you do not believe me, look at the synonyms for comfort. Synonyms: ease, freedom from hardship, relaxation, serenity, tranquility, contentment, content, enjoyment, luxury, affluence, wealth, plenty, welfare. Success is never found in a comfort zone. You have to push past comfort into another place called growth. Do not fall victim of comfort. Keep trying your best. Keep growing, learning, and seeking more. Time management. The time remains constant. The only thing changes is you. The times have changed, but the time itself does not. Therefore, what you have to do with your time and how much or even how little you do with your time. I realize that for you to use your time wisely, you have to know first who you are. Know yourself. Get to know what interests you, and only then you can begin to spend your time and energy wisely. Energy is vital to time, because you could have the time but no energy, and therefore nothing you can do with your time. For example, you want to take a break from studying and take a 30-minute nap that turned into 4 hours. Now, you did not intend to oversleep because you were tired. Therefore, you had the time, but you could not use it productively. The same goes for knowledge. Without some aspect of it, you will not be able to use your time wisely due to the lack of knowledge in the area. Integrating all these concepts will result in better time management, combining time and energy. There are different types of time. There are calendar time and hourglass time. Calendar time has to do with the 24 hours we are given and how we use that time. The hourglass time is crucial because these are the time that we can see at the bottom, but we cannot see how much is left at the top. See, we can tell how much time we have spent, but we cannot dictate nor predict the time which remains. I'm talking about the time where you're coming home from signing the biggest deal of your career, and you got in a car accident, never to return type of time. We can never see when death is coming, and that time slowly creeps up on us. So never forget about that time in time management. Time is the only thing that you cannot buy or buy back. Once the clock starts, it can never go back. It's not about time you spend, it's about how you spend your time. Time is a massive part of our life. Be careful who you give it to. Spend quality time with your family and do not let anything or anyone occupy or disturb family time. Close out all communication and give your family the focus they deserve. This is important. Pay attention to your own life and manage your time wisely. Do not waste your time worrying about what other people are doing. Some people keep going and going, but if you look closely, they are not going anywhere. They're going in circles. For example, I was in an exam room once at the end of the exam. I only had 1 page and everyone else in the class looked over on others who had 3. At the end of the grading, I received a higher grade than everyone else did because I answered every question accurately. Do not just be going, but be specific in where you are going. If it is easy to do it easily. If it is hard to do it hard. Just look at how much time it requires. Time belongs to no one, and therefore it cannot be controlled. Wealth is closely related to time because wealth is acquired over a period of time. How long does it take a baby to walk or to talk? As long as it takes them, they will keep trying until it happens. I say this to tell you, do not worry about what everyone else is doing. You keep focusing on your own time. Be patient with yourself, but be consistent. If anyone asks you why you've not done a great thing yet, respond, I will do it in my own time, and the time is not right for me yet. In today's society, everyone seems to find faults within themselves because they spend too much time looking at someone else's time and not their own. They keep comparing someone else's achievements or failures to their own. In the end, they end up thinking badly about their situations and become depressed. In most cases, we feel how we feel because of the unconscious comparison we make to others. Use your time wisely and effectively, and not on others, but yourself. Speak up more or less. Do not let anyone or yourself drown out your voice. You matter. What you have to say matters, and I want you to understand that. Because it's the way you see life and how you're feeling. No one can tell you how you feel or how you should communicate. Many people are power hungry, and those type of people will devour you in seconds if you let them. Same as others who like to be in control at all times. This could be your spouse, friends and family members. They only see things their way and you should follow their ideals. But you have to understand that it's never right to belittle yourself in any situation to make someone feel good about themselves. No matter your current situation, circumstances or your past, do not let anyone take away the few things you were gifted at birth. Use it to protect yourself, your dreams, your goals and ideals in life. If you do not speak up more, you will have to take what is given to you. This has everything to do with self-confidence. Find that comfort in yourself and your feelings and do not be afraid to express it. It grants you the ability to stand tall. This is more reason for personal development. Understand that it is perfect for speaking up. However, some people do not know when to speak up. Having an opinion is good, but do not force your opinion on anyone, nor should you always give your opinion. Sometimes we make our words get away too much, and in the end it costs us a significant price. In the like of relationships with others, communication is a major factor, and you should know how to speak and when to speak, because no one can always guess what you are thinking or feeling. If you do not stop talking and listen, you'll always miss the main point or miss what the other person is saying, and hence it will result in drawing the wrong conclusion. Do not listen to find faults or rebottling points. Listen to the entire message before drawing a premature conclusion. This could be a foremost cause of bad relationships and failures in our lives, because we make our mouths talk away our opportunities. No one can succeed in a line of endeavour which one does not appreciate. Take away the idea of money as if it never existed and ask yourself, what brings me joy? What do I really desire? You could be so surprised to see the jobs that they would pick and the type of life they would like to live. But according to them, those jobs do not make all the money, so they choose a life and a line of work that is conducive to money. Well, if getting money is the most important thing to you, then you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You will waste time doing things you hate for the love of money or popularity and a sense of feeling important because of the job title, caring so much of what others will think of you. You will be doing things you do not like, live a life you do not like, which is not ideal. This is surely a recipe for a miserable and unhealthy life. I'd rather live a short and exciting life of my choice than live a long and unhappy life. Most people do not realize that if you choose something that you're good at, you will always seek to be a master at it and will eventually get you paid highly for your skills. It's very unwise to keep doing things repeatedly that you do not like and then encourage your children to do the same thing. Nothing can stand in the way of a man who follows his passion. If you're working for a job you do not like, this will not be your way to a better life. You will only find misery and faults. You need to be coordinated with what you love and enjoy. Doing that would make you want to go beyond. That's the only way for you to do your best work. Doing this will bring you everything you wish because of such great work. Being able to perform to your maximum capacity will draw significant attention to your work and therefore will be paid for your worth. Note, no one is implying quitting your job, but you should be planning an exit strategy to do what you really want to do, and do not be afraid to do so. So many people today, especially fresh college graduates, just landed their first job, either in their field of study or in a job that was available now. I know you hear this many times, that a vast amount of people are going to jobs they do not like. That's making them depressed and angry. This is critical because most household members carry that attitude home and become miserable and toxic with their family life. Do not allow that to become you. Take a better approach. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a recent college graduate. She complains about her job, that she does not like her job and the hours are crazy. So my question was, why don't you leave? She said she needs the money, so I said then, be appreciative of your job because it's paying your bills and granting you the ability to have an income. However, while doing that, you should be looking for another job, and I call this the exit strategy. For every job, I believe that from the first day you should know the period you're planning to spend there. If your job is hard at first, you should find ways to get better at your job, regardless if you like your job or you're just stopping by to make a quick buck. All jobs are important, especially if it's making you an income. If more people develop an appreciative attitude for their job, I believe that they would perform better and complain less. They might be there for a short time, but the performance will be remembered, and that is part of your character. Here are two men that work for the same company doing the same job, but neither of them likes their jobs. Tim, who shows that he does not like his job by leaving early as soon as the clock strikes 5 p.m. and performs just enough to make his weekly hours. On the other hand, John, who does not like his job, but has an appreciative attitude because this job is the only means of supporting his family, so he knows how important it is to him. John would show up early to work and ensure that he completes every task before he leaves, regardless of the extra hours. Now, the only thing that they do not know is that the manager is observing them. So there came a time when the company needed to downsize, so they had to let go a few employees. Who do you think was first on the list? Tim was on that list because it shows that he cares little about his job and he performs accidentally. But as for John, he kept his job, and then he was promoted to manager because of the hard work and pride he took in his job. Now ask yourself, are you a Tim or a John? It's up to you to decide. College of Hard Knocks. The pain and the difficulties we encounter in life happen for a reason. Either we need to learn a lesson or we need to work on our weaknesses in that area. That's the main concept of the School of Hard Knocks. The people who graduated this life school are the ones who are able to overcome troubles and hardships and make their lives better. These people do not know what giving up means. It's simply not in their books. The School of Hard Knocks is also called the University of Life or the University of Hard Knocks. It is an idiom used to describe people who learn from the difficulties and problems they face. You know, when you talk to older people, for instance, your grandparents, they remain calm and collected during the most challenging times, as if nothing in life could shock them. It's because they've been there before and they probably experienced similar problems many times in the past. Think of yourself as a parent. Something your child does freaks you out, sends you into a panic mode. But the grandparent handles it with the highest level of calmness. How do we get that calmness? Slow down and take a deep breath. If you're prone to anxiety and panic attacks, avoid caffeine. Identify the root cause of the problem and focus on solving it. If it is possible, take a break from the stressful situation and get back to it with a fresh mind. Make sure you take care of your body by exercising, following a healthy diet. People from humble, hard rocks beginnings do not give up when bad times come, but someone who's not used to difficulties could fumble at the first glimpse. When someone loses everything but has steady perseverance, they will find a way to bounce back. However, the one that has never been to his lowest either is going to become someone new, or they will live in their shadow and never get back. It teaches us to use whatever we have available now until we receive better. However, it forces us to understand that what we have is more than enough to start on your goals, and if you want more, you have to start doing more. Until then, your situation will remain the same. Lack of persistence. How many times have you set goals only to fail? Why does it happen to people? Is it because you do not want it enough, or is it because you suffer from procrastination? Which means either you are a perfectionist or afraid of failure. In the end, both are the same. This fear leads people to give up too soon on their goals. Fear is your worst enemy. It steals your success away and leaves you stuck. Moreover, it lowers your self-confidence and shreds it into pieces. So how do you overcome this fear? Know what you want. This is the key, which means you need to know how to set goals. You know the famous saying, if there's a will, there is a way. It's so incredibly true. If you do not desire something, you will always find ways not to do it. If your desire is genuine, you will push every door, try every avenue, and will figure out how to get there. You will be in a tunnel vision mode that will enable you to focus intensely. Do not be afraid of asking for help. You can only do so much on your own. If you do need help with a particular thing, never feel ashamed of asking for help from someone more knowledgeable and experienced than you. The worst that could happen is that they will say no, but so what? In a way, we're all on our own, even though sometimes we rely on others. If one door closes, turn around and find another door. Accept changes and do not be afraid of them. Learn how to adjust yourself to sudden changes and be flexible so that you can adapt them faster. This kind of flexibility will enable you to move further without feeling anxious. Temptation. Learn how to control urges. It happens to all of us more than once, and to some of us all the time. What makes us give in to temptation, and how can we stop it? Because temptation gives us a sense of satisfaction and provides a moment of escape from reality. It's a quick fix. Only the next day we feel horrible for giving in. It's a way of avoiding the pain and stress we are not ready to deal with. It could be a glass of alcohol, your gambling habit, cheating on your partner, impulse buying and ending up overspending. We all have different ways to cope with the pain that manifests themselves, sometimes in destructive ways. Most of the time, these people deal with anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. We continuously look for quick ways to make ourselves feel better. That's when we give in to temptation, because each time we convince ourselves that this one time would be okay, and it would be the last time. One thing leads to another, and another, and another. One of the best things you can do for yourself, especially if you're dealing with bad habits or addiction, would be to surround yourself with people who support you and lead you in a positive direction. You cannot kick a bad habit by staying with the people who encourage you to keep that habit. In moments of temptation, find ways to distract yourself. Let us say you are trying to quit smoking. Each time you have the urge to smoke, keep yourself busy with another activity until that feeling goes away. In the beginning it will be hard, and these moments will come and go quite often. However, in time you will feel them less and less. It takes about somewhere between 21 days to 1 month to change our habits. If you can get through this period, you're almost there. Rethink and remember why you decided to do what you want to do. Remind yourself all the reasons why you set this goal and focus on the result by visualizing it. Imagine yourself already successful. See yourself as a brand new person. Repeat positive affirmations and do not let the fear and anxiety get the best of you. Always be honest with yourself. Do not think about what others might think or feel, because you are the most important person in your life. Being honest to yourself is essential for your self-esteem and self-confidence. Think about all the things that you would lose if you gave in to temptation and all the times you have to start over. This is exhausting, is it not? Think about how far you have come along and how successful you are. Focus on your success. Avoid stressful situations and negative people. Stress and anxiety weaken not only our immune system, but it also weakens our emotional state. We become more vulnerable and find it hard or almost impossible to deal with life's problems and situations. If you need to isolate yourself from these kinds of people and situations, never feel guilty for it. Your mental, emotional, and physical health comes first. Giving in to temptation is like taking antibiotics when you do not need them. Each time you use antibiotics unnecessarily, you are weakening your immune response and making the bacteria stronger. When you need to take them, your body will not be strong enough to fight them. The same thing happens with temptation. Each time you give in, it will become easier to give in the future. The temptation will become more durable than your solution and your effort to protect yourself. Learn how to say no and not to feel guilty for it. Learn to set your boundaries and make others respect them. Consistency. This might be the only cure to counter procrastination, which is the son of failure. Procrastination is always lingering around, ready to seep in through any opening that it finds. Do not give it any space to settle. It is hard to keep it away, but it will be even harder to remove it after it is settled. Procrastination hates to see consistency because it cannot keep up, and therefore make its departure to elsewhere that consistency is lacking. Nothing can truly stop a consistent person. If you read the story of many successful people, they all shared the same thing. That is consistency. Rapper Meek Mill did an interview years ago when he was a teen rapping, and years later he stated that I have been rapping since I was 10 years old and I never stopped. I'm 26 years old now and I just started being paid 3 years ago, which means that I was rapping for 13 years free, but I kept rapping and following my dreams. Nothing happens on the moment we would like it to be, nor the time we think do we need it most. Just stay consistent and put all your effort into it. How many times have you tried before giving up, or how many times are you willing to stay consistent? It will pay off. Trust and believe. If Meek stopped and worked at a job for 13 years, do you think that he would have made as many millions as he did now? Exactly. There is nothing that will pay you as much as what you were born to do. You might struggle for many years, but you will get it. Even a broken watch is right twice per day. While attending university, I remember one of my professors told me that even a broken watch is right twice per day. I did not entirely understand what that meant at the time, but I could never get it out of my head. It puzzled me for days until one day I realized that even though the watch is broken and old, for many people it's useless and of no value, just like this analogy used it while criticizing yourself. Today people may feel useless or worn out, failing repeatedly and feeling as they are stuck in the same spot. I recall sitting beside the track and started thinking even though the watch battery has died, its hands stop moving and it seems useless. It's still able to tell the correct time twice per day, so it is still of use. It's just how you look at life. On the other hand, it's even more correct twice per day than a watch that is set on the wrong side of time. It might be too fast or too slow, but the broken watch always shows the correct time. No matter how many times you failed or how many times you were told no, do not give up. It only takes 1 or 2 yeses for you to get your big break. Your time will come, just be patient. It might not be your time yet, but it will come at the right time. You're not always right, but you're not always wrong either. Twice per day is enough for me. I might get the most time wrong, but I know my time will come soon enough. No matter where you are in life now, you're of some value to someone who can see it. Most might not see it, but pay attention to the one who does. Even though they may be few, they mean you well. To be a broken watch is better than no watch. Be appreciative of what you got and find value in it. You might think that what you've got is a little, but is it really? Compared to some, maybe you have a lot, or you do have a lot. Maybe you have little. Just because you think you are right does not mean someone else is wrong. It's all about perspective, and that personal perspective is based on how much or how little they think. Be a good thinker, and to do that, be a good reader, listener, and open-minded. The secret. People search everywhere for things in which they cannot comprehend nor cannot quite believe. Some might ask why things happen to them, but the truth is, why not you? Should it be someone else? We search externally for the answer to everything before we ever look within ourselves for the answers. The biggest secret is that there is no secret. Many things are just made belief and to get attention. Believe in yourself and be honest with yourself. The word secret is so powerful. Just by hearing the word, it makes you wonder what you are missing. It places that empty spot in the back of your mind, puts you into detective mood almost instantly. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but if I tell you a secret, then it would not be a secret. The best secrets are the ones you keep to yourself. If a secret were told, then it would not be a secret anymore, because the moment you share it, you broke the secret rule. The best secret is with you and God, because He will never tell. He already knew. I wish you well on your journey. Key concepts. Some things take only a minute to do, but take a lifetime to forget. Be wise. You have to know yourself before you could want anyone else to know you. Successful people know where they are and where they are heading. There will always be up times and down times, but what you do in your down times will determine your upward mobility. Figure out and then try a type of income. Earn, portfolio and passive. Find out the difference. Be unpredictable. It will work in your favour. Never act as you know it all. You will only find out you do not. Be a man or woman of your word at all times. Do not overcommit yourself. Learn to say no. Protect the leader. No leader, no direction. Be brave and bold in your actions. Always share wisdom, because it's the only thing you can give away, but it remains. About the author. Robert Thomas was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica, Being the last child among 16 children and the first to attend university, he decided to live on his own at the age of 15 with the desire to live a better life despite his circumstances. Being born out of poverty and unfavourable environmental conditions, he refused to accept current life. He never gave up on his hopes and dreams of going to college, becoming an auditor, and relieving his family from financial struggles. After facing many challenges, he was able to achieve his goals. He discovered and applied a few of life's concepts, disciplines and philosophies that changed his life around. The author decided that he would share some of his thoughts that helped him to see the mysteries of thinking from a different viewpoint, hoping others will be able to see life differently and discover the unique power of their thoughts and how it drastically affects their lives.